That guy. Look at that haircut.
All right, so we have our remote participants. If you have video playing, please mute it so that we don't hear me on time delay.
Somebody down there?
Oh man! All right, so how many people do we have in the Google Hangout who aren't here?
One.
Just Joe?
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to do, we actually talked about this morning, but I wanted to do a quick recap. Yesterday at the documentation and coding sprint, we decided rather than do that, we would just break stuff and then fix it. So to that end, we've upgraded our WordPress instance, which was on an old version of WordPress. It's now current. We dropped our old theme, and then we implemented the new, I think this is the 2010 theme. And then Damon from Hampshire College created our new logo. He actually created several different logos. And you can vote on those if you go to the Clamp Moodle Exchange at cme.clampit.org. So this is the new and improved site. We're going to come back to this in a second, but basically this is where we normally post news updates and what have you, have some background information about Clamp. We have. Did anyone else's hangout end? Because so, as an aside, one of the problems with Google Hangout previously was that if the person who initiated the hangout, say, inadvertently logged out of Google to go log into a different Google account, the hangout would stop. That person is now saved by the fact that hangouts persist. As long as there is someone who's still in the hangout, it should continue along until everybody quits the hangout. So that is good. So the other work we did, Charles Fulton from Lafayette upgraded the CME, which is our Clamp Moodle Exchange instance. It was previously running on Moodle 1.9. It is now running on Moodle 2.3. Add in the appropriate number of dots after that. It is also running the LAE, latest edition 3.04, I think. So if anyone asks, hey, what does the Liberal Arts Edition do? Well, you can come here and it's actually running it. So it looks pretty similar to what your normal Moodle is. The well, one of the things we've talked about actually as part of the Clamp Moodle Exchange was setting up a test course that demonstrates some of the components that are actually incorporated into it so that you could go in and see. But the other thing that I think the last time we had talked about that, there was, do you do that in a test course here that people are only students in? Or like the problem is if you're giving them teacher access to that course and they can start messing with stuff. So if we had a course, I think where we landed was you set up an instance that you could spawn and then it cleans itself up every 30 minutes or something. I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that this puppy has been upgraded to Moodle 2.3. It is running what's known as the Cosmic theme, which is a child theme of Rocket, which we developed at Lafayette to fix some of the challenges we were having with Rocket, streamline things a little bit. Rocket had a big image at the top of the page, and a couple of other things that we didn't really need. So this is the Clamp Moodle Exchange running on Moodle 2.3. Again, you can see Damon's cool logo. And then lastly, we actually didn't upgrade Redmine, but we did make some tweaks to bring it into line with the other two sites as far as colors go. This may be the first time that the Clamp web presence actually looks kind of the same in all of its different iterations. So, woohoo! We actually did sprint day. We got all this stuff done. This is stuff we've been talking about doing for like a year. So I'm really happy that we actually got it all done. Now, I guess one of the things I wanted to throw out there to the group, since we're talking about one of the things that we've talked about, Daniel from Reed and Charles and a couple of others of us have talked about, is trying to make it easier to update our web presence when there are new announcements about stuff like, okay, the latest LAE version has been released. So one of the thoughts we had was also it would be nice to eliminate having to update an application. So one of the things we thought about was actually replacing WordPress on www.clampit.org with Moodle, so that Moodle would be the homepage for Clamp. Inside of the Clamp Moodle Exchange, right now, basically what you have is, this would just become the Clamp website, right? You have some available courses, and the courses we currently have in here, there's the Clamp Liaisons, which is basically whoever the contact is at your college, they're in there, and then when I have announcements and such, I put it there. I send the emails to them. The Clamp Drupal Exchange, which is something that we were playing around with just having a place where you can talk about Drupal. The Moodle Exchange, which is actually the course that sees the most action on this site. And then the WordPress Exchange, which was, again, another kind of, hey, I've got a problem with WordPress. But we have to remove Caroline because she's not actually here anymore.
They still do stuff, though.
We'll see. Anyway, so what do you guys think? I mean, if we replaced Moodle with WordPress, would anyone really care as long as you got announcements that stuff was out?
If you replace Moodle with WordPress, I think I'd be upset.
Wait, the other way around. Yes, thank you. Replace WordPress with Moodle. I've had the proper level of caffeination now, so all my problems are my own. I mean, there's some things I need to think through, like how are you can create HTML page.
All right, do you have to share the screen?
There we go. All right. Can everyone out in Hangout land see and hear us now?
I get a thumbs up right there.
Okay.
Awesome.
Jedediah, can you see us?
Where is he?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
All right, I'm going to re-invite my clamp circle because I just added Kevin to it. He wasn't in my clamp circle, so. So we're doing desktop, right?
There we go. There's the move. Okay.
What are we? Why are we using it?
Why are we not?
We are using the clamp Moodle user for this.
Why don't you say your clamp circle?
Well,
I added it to the clamp user circle. Me being the clamp user. I'm sorry. I am putting on my persona hat. Anyway. So the question I have is really just I have to sit down and beat up on a Moodle instance to see what happens. So if I use Pages, can I use Pages as part of the homepage course, right? Or is the homepage really just doesn't do that kind of stuff?
Is just a site form, and that's all it is. So you have to make it open course. But then you can add, once you make those paid resources, you can link those.
Right, so I could just add it to the primary navigation across the top of the site and then link to those, and we can have the about, the participants, the link out to the Google form. What were you going to say, Mary?
Actually, we had our first year program had their own Moodle site, and they were able to, I think with HTML blocks, put stuff in the center section.
Yeah, you can put stuff in there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we do it all the time.
All right, so I mean, no one has any particular hang-ups, I guess, about ditching WordPress? It would make me happy. So, I mean, the only things I can think of, that actually comes back to one of the questions we had at the last Hack Doc, which was social media integration. Someone said, well, why the heck would you ever want to post from Moodle to Twitter? Well, you know, if we have a Facebook page and we have a Twitter page for Clamp, it would be nice if those announcements could just go out from the news forum, post to Twitter, and it's one less step for me. At the end of the day, it would be nice to be able to make one post and everybody gets it everywhere, and then Ken's life is easier, or Charles's life is easier. So sorry.
With WordPress, you could do that, right?
Yeah, technically. I mean, we didn't do it because I hadn't installed the plugins,
Right.
but
With Moodle.
I also, I
Does it
mean,
exist for that?
I don't know. I don't. You know what? I honestly don't remember the results of what the instructional technologists found at Kalamazoo. I think Jason Alley might have been working on that, so I can ping him and see what he found out. I think the answer was there's not a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think we were spending a lot more time fighting with repos than we were trying to integrate social media into Moodle. So that's about it. I mean, the thing I like about being able to basically have this as our homepage is then it's Moodle all the way down, right? I mean, we're supporting it and we're using it, and you can show off exactly what it is we're doing. So, all right, I think that is it for me.
Oh, that means I'm up.
That means you're up.
All right, let me get some stuff together. Rotate. I'm just gonna scoot over. Okie dokie. So, all right, I actually made slides. Everyone can read that. You want to? Well, you're laughing at my title. Okay, so.
Yeah. Go.
Huh? What?
Go.
No? Okay. So I was going to talk about, so I joined Lafayette in March last year, so I hadn't actually really used Moodle, and Kalamazoo's HackDoc was my first real introduction to it. And I was lucky enough that Daniel sat down with me for a bit and showed me a little bit of Selenium Cucumber scripting. In my previous life, I was a chemical engineer and I did a lot of computer programming. So even though I'm an instructional technologist, it's something that's really interesting to me. So I was really intrigued by this, ability to automatically do things. So we sat down for a bit and he taught me some stuff. And then when we went to do our migration from 1.9 to 2.3, I was like, I think this could really help us. So basically I kind of outlined what we were doing. So over the summer, we migrated our 1.9 instance to Moodle 2.3. And our 1.9 instance had not only all the academic courses for the college, but we had a lot of non-academic, what we'll call like clubs, advising sites, things like that. So in going to 2.3, we decided to split Moodle into two instances. We have regular Moodle, which is where all the academic stuff lives, and we have what we're calling Spaces, which is where all the clubs and advising sites and things like that are going to live. But we needed to figure out what we needed to move into Spaces. And we had about, I think I counted close to 400 courses that were non-academic in our 1.9 instance. So we needed to, yeah?
By non-academic, I mean they weren't like not courses that were being offered.
Yeah,
there
like
are-
not for credit.
One of the questions was, there are academic courses that live in spaces.
Yes,
so
yes.
They're not credit.
Yeah, like they're advising sites, there are things like that. So maybe departmental, sites that faculty use to collaborate with one another, things like that. So one of the things we did, so the plan kind of first was, well, first we need a list of everything that's in Moodle that's non-academic. So Ken somehow worked his magic, and he created me this very large, I'll bring it up because it's a big mess, text file, piped limited, of all the courses that were considered non-academic. So I was able to pull this into Excel. So that was the first step. And then in Excel, so I'm like the Excel guru, and I like writing lots of VBA scripts. So I had pulled it into Excel, and the big thing was, this was the list pulled in, and you have a teacher on every line along with what course they're a teacher in. But we needed to get it to where it was teacher on one line with all of their courses. So I just wrote a script that basically did that, transposed that, so it got it into a cleaner form. And we actually took this and were able to directly import it into survey software that we have on campus. And we sent out a survey to everyone here listed. It's like 600 faculty members or administrators saying, do you still need this course? Are you using it? Are you actively using it? What's the deal with it? And we gave them a deadline as to when they needed to tell us. And basically, we gave them a little leeway. Yeah?
We were like all over those.
Which way, this way?
Yeah, you have the L number to copy and broadcast.
Anyway, right. So we pulled this into a survey software, and then we were able to get back results. So let's see, is that this one? Yeah, I have a couple different spreadsheets. So once we had the survey results, we were able to say, okay, do you want your course moved? Do you need the content? Are you actively using it before the beginning of the semester? Things like that. So we could prioritize how much we moved. And we ended up having about 150 courses that we had to back up and restore from the old Moodle into the new Moodle. And one of the first steps was actually Charles, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you took our 1.9 instance and created a copy of it and upgraded it to 2.2 first, right? And then that's what we used. We used that instance to create all of our backups out of, because we needed all the user data. So that's where Cucumber came in. So eventually I got down to a list of courses that needed to be backed up, and I created this list. It's a shortened list. And the other thing I will mention, I had this column that I called course identifier for Cucumber, and here it's just a long course name, but in the original data dump we had these term codes that are over here. Where they are? Yeah, this column. Because I found that when you would search for, basically the script just goes in and searches for the course. But sometimes if you just search for the long name, multiple things would appear in the results. So I found that if you searched for these term codes, it made it find just that course that you were looking for. So I actually originally used these term codes, but the instance no longer exists, so these term codes are no longer valid. So for this example, I'm just going to show, I'm just going to use the course long name as the identifier. So I got it into this form. Like I said, this isn't all the courses. This is just a short list of some of the courses. And I had a VBA script that basically, if I just ran it, and I can show you, if I just push the button, it's not going to do anything, but it was actually writing the lines in Cucumber that would do the actual scripting. So really all it was doing was writing the same block of code over and over again, just inserting the different course names so that it would run through and create those backups. So that created, so this little button here created a text file. And then I go to where that text file is. So it ends up looking something like this. And I wasn't going to go into all the details of Cucumber, but you know a lot more of that than I do, so I just know what he tells me.
A lot of it right there. So.
Yeah. But basically, I mean, and Daniel did all the legwork of these simple plain text kind of commands it's Ruby functions essentially, right? Or step definitions. I don't know what you
Right,
would
which
call it.
then get translated into Selenium functions, which aren't necessarily Ruby.
Right. So it's like a combination of, this is Cucumber, and then there's Ruby and Selenium that are on the back end, where he wrote a lot of the functionality that interprets this language, basically. So once those step definitions are created, you can then use them to do a lot of different things. So there wasn't much I had to change from what he had done over the summer in Kalamazoo to get this to work, basically. I just had to find the right some of the things that needed to be tweaked, and that was about it. So I'll run this just so you can see what it looks like. I created a bat file that runs it. You can run it from the command line, but it makes it easier for me to just double click a file and then I don't have to deal with it. So right now I have this going to one of our instances because it's just creating backups. Just for a quick example. Now the only thing I will say that you have to be careful about with this is you have to put in a username and password into the script, into the step definition somewhere. So you have to be careful about that. But you can see it just types in the course name, it finds it, it clicks on it, and now it's just running through all the button clicks to do the backup. So the couple of things I ran into though, some courses were huge and it would time out. So I kept having to put in like longer kind of waits in the script to have it wait for it, and that's where you could see the backup file was there, and then it goes back to the home page and does the next course. Even here, so you can see there, 2 courses showed up, which is why searching for the term code was better than the long name. So once all the backups were created, we still had to have someone go in and manually go find that backup file, download it, and then restore it into the new system. But it was kind of a consensus of we don't want to automate that process because you want to make sure it gets in there properly. You need some eyes looking at it to make sure it did it and it worked and everything else. So you can see down here it says I only had in this file I only had 3 courses that were going to be backed up, so all 3 scenarios passed. So it says down at the bottom there. But that was pretty much it. So it saved a lot of time on our end. It was, like I said, 150 courses, and then it was me and one of our summer interns kind of went through. We had a big Google Doc spreadsheet of all the courses, and we kind of went through, little by little, doing chunks of getting the backup file and restoring it. And we really didn't have too many problems, I don't think. And we said there was that one course that had tons of wikis, and it was fine. It restored just fine. But yeah, so other things we're looking at, and I had started doing this and I ended up losing my files in a stupid state of events, but Charles and Jason Allen, it was a long story, but they had put together a document of, and I think Carly, you were mentioning, you guys do this too, you have certain settings in Moodle that you always apply whenever you create your Moodle. So Jason and Charles had written one of these documents, and I had started putting together a Cucumber script that would set all those settings. So if you spin up a new instance, you could just have like I did here, a bat file, you double click and it goes to your Moodle and it goes through all of those options and checks all the boxes in the right spot and everything like that. So that's another use for it. That could be really cool. But yeah, so those are kind of the things we were, and then there's obviously the testing stuff we were going to try and do for FLAM.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so that's all I had.
Cool.
Questions?
Are there any questions from the folks in the forum?
And the guy said he did the same thing manually and he says this is sweet. And Joe says, oh my God, it's full of stars.
It's full of what? It's full of stars.
Cool.
All right. Well,
Thanks, Jen.
How long did this take you to do?
no, I mean, Daniel taught me stuff over the summer, and then I just kind of messed around with, picking up what he did. It really didn't take too long. I mean, honestly, all the data wrangling and getting the information out to the professors and then analyzing what they, because you would have